Hey guys, it's Real Low Bermuda here, bringing you another lawn care video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about watering your lawn, how to set up your irrigation system, how often you should be watering, how much water you should put down with each watering, and ultimately how to set up your sprinkler system. So I hope you enjoy the video, and let's roll that intro. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place these around my yard in just various spots so I can make sure that I'm getting the right amount of rain in each of the areas. And so you just kind of want to start by placing them. In the ground just like that. Alright guys, so I just watered this front section for 10 minutes, and we're going to take a look at a few things and make a few observations and then go from there. Ultimately, remember, we're trying to get a ½ inch in each of these sections, and after 10 minutes of watering, we're going to kind of take a look and see where we're at. Alright guys, so if we take the average around each of these 10 measuring tools, we're right around 1.5 to 2/10 of an inch. And so we're just going to go with 2/10 of an inch. And ultimately, remember, with each watering, you want to get down ½ an inch. If you're watering twice a week, like I do. If you're only watering once a week, then you're going to have to get down a full inch, right? So, but for me, we're going to stick with ½ an inch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that down at 4 different times. And so I'm not going to put down a ½ an inch all at once, because then what we would have is we would end up having some runoff. And right now we don't have any runoff after 10 minutes. Ultimately, that's just overspray a little bit on the sidewalk, but there was 0 runoff in the edging after 10 minutes. But if I were to water for 25 minutes, then we would be experiencing a little bit of runoff and erosion, especially in the backyard where I have slopes and things like that. If you have a sloped yard, you've got to be really careful about watering very frequently, small amounts, because you're going to get a lot of that erosion and runoff where you're not going to actually get any absorption. So for me, if I need to get, ultimately I'm going to need, based on my measurements, I'm going to need 25 minutes. So we're going to just say 24. We're going to go with 4 waterings at 6 minutes each watering. So I'll start out basically at 5 a.m. in the morning. I'll run each cycle, and each cycle in my yard is going to be different, right? This one I learned that I need to get 25 minutes of water down, but to get a half an inch in different parts of my yard, based on different sprinkler heads, it may not be 25 minutes. And so you have to do this for each of your sprinkler zones. But ultimately for me, I'll start at about 5 a.m. and then I'm going to run it again about 5:45, and then 6:30, and then 7. So with each of my waterings, ultimately that's going to total, after that 4 cycle segment, I'm going to get my half an inch for this front yard segment. And so we're going to do the same process for every area of the yard to make sure that we're getting the appropriate amount of water. So ultimately you want to take the guessing out of it. You could just kind of eyeball it and pay attention to, this is a brown spot, it needs more water, or this is a green, this is doing really well, maybe it needs less water, or I'm experiencing runoff. But I tell you what, guys, these little measuring gauges were very cheap on Amazon. It came in a pack of 10, and I tell you, they're really instrumental. A lot of guys on YouTube will use tuna cans. We're vegetarians, so we don't eat tuna, but ultimately these work wonders, and you get 10 of them, so you can really identify that not all of your areas of yard are getting the same amount of water, even though they could be the same exact sprinkler heads. And just like I showed you earlier, had a little bit of a sprinkler head that was clogged. That's another thing about getting out in your yard. Don't just assume that all your sprinkler heads are perfectly distributing water. Sometimes things are going to influence that. There's a lot of variables with dirt. I mean, they're in the ground, in the soil for most of the week, and when they pop up, sometimes they're going to be obstructed, and so you got to make sure that you're paying attention to that. All right, so now that we know what my different zones need to be, next thing we need to do is set up our sprinkler system, our irrigation system, to match that. And most sprinkler systems now come with Wi-Fi. They come with an app, and so that's what I recommend you do. But even if you just have an old school box on the side of your garage, it's a really simple process to set this up. But I'm just going to kind of show you on my app how we're going to go in and make adjustments. So right now my watering days are Wednesdays and Saturdays, and then you can see my start times right now. So far in the spring, I've been starting at 3 different waterings. I'll probably start doing that up to 4. But ultimately today I was testing zone 1, so I didn't have that go off yet, but we're going to set that to 6. And then you can see my other zones. I have different sprinkler heads in zone 3. They put out a lot less water, and so that's at 12. And then my other zones are set. And so ultimately you'll just go in and modify that. And then what happens is if you start to see that maybe zone 5 is looking a little brown, it's not doing so well, well, then you'll go in, make an adjustment, add another minute. And if you figure, if you're watering 4 times a morning, twice a week, that's 8 waterings a week. If you adjust that by 1 minute, that's 8 extra minutes of water. And so keep in mind that you don't have to make huge adjustments in your system. Sometimes just a minute here or there will make a big difference. But it's important to kind of pay attention. If you're noticing that you have a dry spot in your yard, like if we come out here during the summertime, this area, I have a sprinkler head over there and a sprinkler head over here, and so this little middle area is also kind of up on a hill, and it's the driest part of my yard, and so I have to water extra long in this area in order to get the right amount of water. The other alternative is I come in sometimes just with a hand hose and a sprayer and just give it a little bit of extra water. And so, but it's just being able to recognize what's going on in your yard. The same thing with nutrients that I've talked about in other videos. You know, when you're trying to fertilize, how much do you need? Should you put more? Is it too much? You're just kind of paying attention to your yard. And so again, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, I'm going to put out a video every single week with tips for the basic homeowner to have a not so basic yard. You know, an average homeowner can have a well above average yard just by following these tips. And so do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you a thing, but it really helps me out. And also, if you want to be notified each week when my new videos do get released, turn that notification button on. And if you have questions, because there's probably some things that I might have left out in this video, if you have questions, leave them in the comment below, or if you like what you saw, leave me a comment. But I really do appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully you find these videos helpful, and good luck this spring with creating the yard of your dreams. This is Real Low Bermuda signing out.